everybody, and thank you so much for joining me tonight at City Craft Club. We are going to be making elastic stretch cord bead bracelets. Essentially friendship bracelets, which are very on trend right now. You can spell any phrase, any friend's name, and one of the best things about these bracelets is that there's no clasp to fumble with. It's literally just a stretchy elastic cord, and you can layer them and just make it look super cute. So although it may seem very straightforward, which it is, there are a few tips and tricks that I want to show you that will help you make your bracelet nice and secure so that you can feel very comfortable gifting it to anyone or wearing it yourself. So without further ado, let's head on over to the craft table and look at the supplies that we'll be using. As far as materials, we really don't need that much, but of course we will need beads. I have a variety including letter beads so I can spell out words. I have these gold spacer beads, and I also have these clay beads, which are really popular to use as the surrounding beads. If you are using alphabet beads, like the little letter beads where you can spell things, definitely purchase them already pre-organized. I've gotten these before when they're all just jumbled up like a word salad or like a letter salad in a big jar, and it's so annoying to try to search through and find, oh, where's the letter S, where's the letter X? So these ones, as you can see, are already arranged alphabetically in their own nice little neat compartments. Of course, you will also need string. The one that I'm using today is actually a 0.8 millimeter size. I've actually never used this brand of string. I would highly recommend the Stretch Magic string in 0.5 millimeter if you're using any of the types of beads that I'm using. It's a pretty standard size for string and will fit most of the beads that you will want to use for this project. Next, you will need a bead holder or a binder clip / bulldog clip. These will allow you to hold your beads on your string while you're beading from one end. Next, you'll need scissors. I love to use these cute little sewing scissors because they're a lot more precise, but if you don't have them, normal scissors will absolutely do. Next, you will need a ruler. Next, I would highly advise grabbing some sort of dark material that you can put your string and your beads on when you're beading. That will allow you to see the whole process more clearly. Another optional, yet I find exceedingly helpful tool to have on hand is some sort of jewelry glue. Now mine is all crusty and gross because I've been using it a lot. This is called Hypo Cement. I will of course link it below. A lot of jewelry makers actually use this specific glue, partially because it has an ultra fine point nozzle, and I would highly recommend it if you, like I, are someone who just wants to ensure extra security on your bracelet so it doesn't go flying everywhere. But that said, you don't necessarily need this. I am going to teach you a really straightforward knot for tying your jewelry, so don't worry too much if you don't have any sort of craft glue. There's no right or wrong answer for pattern or color. However, I will say that when I have left my beads just out and about and I pick them one by one as I'm beading with no real plan or thought process as I'm doing it, I haven't been super happy with the result. So I do always like to plan out exactly what my pattern or design is going to be. I'm just going to spell out the word that I'm writing on this bracelet, and that word is mochi. So the first step, what I always like to do is to place my dark material down just so I can see what I'm doing, because as you're about to see, the string can get kind of invisible because, well, it's invisible string, which makes it kind of difficult to deal with. So unspool your string. It doesn't really matter how much you unspool right now because we are going to grab our ruler and measure our string for our bracelet. So I did make a super handy chart that I've linked below that will tell you exactly the number of inches that you need for your approximate size of person that you're making the bracelet for. For me, I typically do an adult size small for myself, which is approximately 7 inches. So here's 7 inches, but because we do need to tie this string at the end, and also we want some more room to work with so that things don't slip off or get frustrating, it's good to always leave about 2 or so inches on either side of your measurement. So again, if I'm doing 7 inches, which is an adult size small for the actual bracelet, I'm going to add 2 to this side and then 2 to that side, which, if my math is correct, which it might not be, that's 11 inches total. Make sure that you give yourself enough slack on either side to work with. So I'm going to measure mine to 11. So here's 11. And I might just do 12 actually, just to be super safe. All right, so here is the string that we'll be working with. The next step is incredibly important. basically we have to pre-stretch our elastic. If we don't pre-stretch our elastic, then your bracelet's gonna get saggy and that's not cute. Trust me, I've done it before. It just looks really not professional, looks kind of tacky after a few wears. So in order to do that, we're going to evenly stretch, sort of inch by inch, the string. Again, it's not a precise science, it's just something you definitely want to do. Pull it pretty tight. Obviously, you're not trying to break it. So just do that a few times up and down. Sometimes I like to wrap it around my fingers to sort of measure how much I've done. One more nice full go at it. Okay. So now that we have our string properly measured and stretched, the next step is to grab either our binder clip or our handy dandy bead stopper. So I'm going to be using the bead stopper, but as you can see, they're pretty much the same mechanism. So grab one end of your string and open your bead stopper or clip just by pressing, obviously, and put the string into one of the rungs or just into the clasp if you're using a binder clip. Et voila. So I have set out my mochi beads, so they're nice and organized. I've set out my pink clay beads on the side, and I'm just going to string them through kind of randomly. Sometimes if I'm struggling to pick up these tiny little clay beads, for example, if I have long nails like I do right now, that makes it kind of hard. I will be honest, I literally lick my finger and just press them, and that makes it so much easier, which like is not a tip that I would tell anyone for whom I'm making these bracelets, but you know, just crafter to crafter, it makes it a lot easier. So just bead until you feel like you've reached about a quarter of the way down the string. You could even stack these little beads and just poke the string on through all of them. That makes it faster. There is something that's kind of calming about beading though. I do like to do this, for example, when I'm like watching TV, just hanging out. Like it's just a good little craft to sort of have on hand. Okay, so I have beaded my clay beads onto my string a little less than a quarter of the way down of this full string. So I'm going to grab spacer bead, this cute little gold floral bead, which actually just makes the whole design look a little more complete and separates the word from the clay beads. Of course, you can choose any spacer bead that you want. I'm going to simply string along each of the letters to make up my phrase. I'm going to start with the final letter because if you imagine this as a bracelet, it'll be this way around. So definitely, of course, think about that before you start to thread your beads. So I'm just going to start with the I and do exactly what we've been doing. I think about you all the time. You got me loose. My heart was troubled. Now that we have this, the next step is to simply do the same thing on the other side, starting with the spacer bead to just add a little bit of symmetry. My heart was troubled, now I'm fine. I'm just kind of adding these randomly to have a nice blended sort of pink ombre effect almost. Well, not really ombre, but blended pink. So now that we have everything stringed onto our bracelet, it's time for the fun part, completing it and tying our bracelet. So a lot of jewelry makers I've noticed have been using the surgeon's knot. That is something that apparently is rather easy, but for me, for whatever reason, I really struggled to get it right. So I'm actually going to show you another option for tying your string bracelets and making them secure. So watch closely, I will go slowly. Basically, you are going to grab both ends of your bracelet. You're going to cross your left over right, and then just loop the left underneath the right. This is essentially just like a normal knot, as I would call it, or like a, shoelace knot. Tighten it just a little bit so that you still have some slack. And then loop the right underneath the left. This is one of those things where it's like, don't overthink it. It's very much like a normal, quote unquote, normal shoelace knot. Tighten it as much as possible, and then just hold it and tighten it some more. You're really going to want to pull it here to make sure that your knot is as tight as possible. Okay, so this is what we have. Nice and tight. Okay. From here, you are going to take both ends again. And then imagine you are tying a balloon and grab both and slip the ends underneath the side that you're grabbing. Again, it's literally just like tying a balloon. Okay, and then tighten it as much as possible. From here, put your thumb on the knot that you've created, and then grab either side and pull it literally as tight as you possibly can without breaking it, of course. Okay. And there we have our nice secure knot. Add your scissors and simply snip away the excess string. And there we have it, a nice secure knot. And as you see, the bracelet kind of just absorbs it and tucks it under naturally. So my next step that I'm going to show you is kind of a bonus step, but it's something that I do like to do just to ensure extra security. Your hypo cement glue or any other sort of fine point nozzle jewelry glue that you have. Find that knot again. And then just squeeze the tiniest bit of glue onto that knot. Let it be, let it rest for about an hour, and then your bracelet will be the most secure stretch elastic bracelet you've ever seen.